Whether you eat to live or live to eat, there is a connection between food and your mood. In part 2 of this episode, Roseanne Kamau from Treasure Fitness continues with the foods that are all good at the Waterfront Karen. You've arrived. So let's start with what we have on the table here.
Okay.
Talking about what we've laid out.
Right.
And I'd like to believe that everything here is good.
This is good for us.
It impacts us positively.
It absolutely
We
does.
already know what the bad stuff is.
We already know what that does.
We're looking at the good stuff
Yes.
and why it's so good for us. So walk us through what
So I'm going to
we
walk
have
us
here.
through this. We want to go back to the earth. Think about the foods our grandparents ate. Foods that come directly from the earth. Mediterranean diets, those are plant-based foods. When you think about all these diets that are out there, majority of them do work. But you know why they work? Because they prescribe a lot of protein and vegetable-rich foods. Things that come from the earth, pineapples, fruits, your vegetables, skooma, kale, onions, cabbages, all these things grow in the earth. And Sheila, in Kenya, we are so blessed. Because this country, all these things grow in abundance. People leave the world. We import these foods outside because people are really envying the country. God's blessed us with amazing weather. So we cannot say we don't have the food. That's a zero excuse. Plants are very affordable. You go abroad, these foods are super, super expensive because they have to be imported. We want to focus on eating a lot of plant-based foods. When you look at your plate, half to 3/4 of your plate has got to be plants and vegetables. So we're talking skooma, cabbage, terere, all these foods that a lot of people think are old-fashioned. Let me tell you, I'd rather be old-fashioned. Yeah. That's what I'm going to eat.
And alive and kicking.
And alive and kicking, but old-fashioned. But let me tell you, these are the foods that we need to eat. When I began to change and I started adding more vegetables and fruits, I began to notice my mood was changing. I just noticed I was a lot happier, right? I began adding things like nuts and seeds. These are pumpkin seeds, squash, merengues.
Yes.
The seeds, I remember growing up, we used to throw them all out.
Yeah.
Don't throw those things out. Take them out, wash them, roast them on your pan. Seriously, how much is a merengue, you tell me?
They're not that expensive.
No. So get those seeds, butternut, they're full of magnesium. And magnesium is one of those things, it's a pick-me-up. So it's going to help elevate your mood, right? So even let's say you're in your office and it's break time, you need a snack. What's a typical snack that we tend to go for? Chai and mandazi. Yes, indeed, right? Instead of that, this is what I would say, and I want you, Sheila, to try this. So this is like a yogurt, because remember initially we talked about don't have the flavored yogurts because they have a lot of sugar. So I'd have you have like something like a plain yogurt.
Okay.
Then what I'd have you do, and I want you at home to see this. Grab pieces of nuts.
Okay.
So
these are cashew nuts.
Those are cashew nuts, and they are raw.
Okay.
And then add a little bit of pumpkin seeds. And if you want some flavor, some sweetness, which is perfectly fine, I would chop up an apple, or I would cut up a little bit of
orange, and then you can squeeze a little bit if you want.
So you get the natural sugar from your food rather than having stuff added. Now I'll tell you what I love about this snack. It's not as sweet, true?
But it tastes good.
It tastes good. Fantastic. Now I'll tell you what we do. Before your palate gets used to this, let me first say this. It's important you can add these fruits in there. This is so much better than eating something like a mandazi or breads, because what they're going to do is they're going to raise your sugars temporarily. You're going to feel good temporarily. Then what's going to happen? It's going to drop. And then you're going to feel terrible. Your mood's going to suck. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be moody. Some people cry. Because our bodies are different, everyone exhibits it differently. But this kind of a snack, what it does, two things. Your yogurt has the protein. So protein is going to keep you satiated longer. Protein is going to keep your insulin levels stable, so there's not that up and down switch. You have your magnesium that's going to help boost up your moods, and you have your nuts from you have your cashews, and you have your fats from your nuts. The protein fat combination, two things happen: keeps you fuller longer. It's going to keep you satiated. Because also what happens is when you're hungry and when you feel that dip happening, you want something else. You want another pick-me-up. This won't be a pick-me-up. This will keep you nice and satiated longer.
And calm.
And it keep you calm. And which means you're not going to have the brain fog. You're going to be able to think clearly. Your mood's going to be stable. So I need you to begin to associate the foods that I eat. What are they doing to my body? Forget the look, but the mood, because it's showing from a cellular level, something's already been affected.
I really enjoyed this, and I could eat this and finish it, but I have to ask you questions.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
and we have to have a
Sheila,
conversation.
go for it, yes.
I'm looking at this side of our table, and I can see, you know, I don't know if these are lemons and oranges, and I can see some fish, and I can see egg.
Yes.
Tell us more. You know, we've dealt with the fresh vegetables and the grains and the nuts, talking about meat, talking about eggs, and what you've created here.
Yes. Remember, a lot of people also tend to do soft drinks.
Yeah.
So what I say, instead of a soft drink, if you want something sweet, this again is something I want you, Sheila, to try. This is water.
Okay.
And what I've done is I added lemon and oranges in there to give it some flavor. Because what I say is this.
Right.
If you're looking for something to pick you up, again, go for things that are made in the earth. And the more you add vitamin C to your body, this is what happens. You build up and you boost up your immunity. So you're not getting the colds. You know how people get colds, especially get colds?
And it's Homa season right now.
And it's Homa season. So this is what, get that. Chop up some lemons, chop up some oranges. People throw in strawberries, apples, mint leaves, all these things we find here in Kenya. Make a whole jar and leave it, put it out where your kids can see it, you can see it, even in your office. Put this stuff out. This is something I say, hey, cheers.
Hey, cheers.
To health, right?
To health and wealth.
And wealth. So this is something I always, this is what we make at home. Even when guests come.
This is it. This is what you serve.
This is what I serve.
It tastes good and I love it.
So that's water for soft drinks. Again, it's going to keep your moods nice and satiated, because the soft drinks, what they do is sugars are raised, insulin's raised, they drop your mood,
goes
you become
up and then
cranky.
it comes
up
back
and down, right?
Yeah.
Then we've got our fish. And I'll tell you why I love fish. Omega-3s. People who have depression and they start taking omega-3s, which you can find in fish, do you know their mood, science has shown their mood begins to go back up?
Fish.
Fish. Because it has the omega-3 fats. So if you don't do a fish and you can do a supplement, do supplements every day. I actually recommend for my clients to do a multivitamin and a fish oil every single day, just because the benefits have just been shown to outweigh the risks. Eggs also, they have the protein. They have an enzyme in them that's also really good for helping keep your moods stable. Eggs also have fat in them, in the yolk. The yolk's good. A lot of people have been running away from the yolks.
I just want a scrambled egg white, please.
And that's about it. That's all I'm going to have. And if I may just educate you just a little bit on the cholesterol and the eggs, because there's been a tag of
push and pull
in science. But in the 50s, what happened? There was a push and pull between the sugar industry and the fat industry, because people were gaining weight. The sugar industry, though, overall ended up winning that battle, and they ended up saying fat is what's bad for you, and the cholesterol in eggs
is
and
what's
fat is
killing
what's
you.
killing us, right? But really, then what happened is they started removing fats from things like yogurt, from milk. You know, the milk was like 2%, 3% skim milk. But then what happened is they realized it tasted terrible. So they needed to add something in them to make it taste good. So what did they add, Sheila? Sugar. And all forms of sugar. Sugar has, I think, 42 or 52 names. I mean, there's all different types of names. So you've got to really be an educated consumer to know that sugar comes in different forms. But anyway, so what happened is when they added sugar, guess what happened to the population? People started getting fatter and fatter and fatter and bigger and bigger. Now is when there's a reversal, and they're like, sure enough, it's not the fat that was killing people, it's the sugar that was killing people. So eggs and egg yolks, we eat eggs I eat 4 eggs a day, 3 to 4 eggs in a day. Sometimes
Wow.
I'll do 6 eggs. And
I
remember
do
my
too.
worry.
Boiled eggs
Boiled
a day.
eggs, yeah?
And I find that it keeps me stable
Satiated
up until
from that.
around 3 p.m.
And that's the key. You know
Yeah.
what happens is when you stay stable up until like about 3 p.m., you're not going to be eating all these other little junky
Yeah.
foods, which tends to happen when you eat sugarly laden foods.
Yeah.
Just about to rub there.
Yeah. Don't worry, you're with friends.
Right? I was just about to pull that. So if you eat the cereals for breakfast or your tea and bread for breakfast, over time you'll notice within 2-3 hours you're
finished.
hungry.
You're hungry. You're ready for
hungry
something
again.
else.
Yeah.
But with egg, egg is just
Egg's fine.
It's my
A little bit of
superpower.
fat. There you go.
Yeah.
It is a super. Me actually think it's a superfood. It should be labeled
It
as a
should be
superfood.
labeled as such.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Then we have our carbohydrates. Now carbs have become an enemy everywhere in the world. People not eating carbs, but this is what I say. You do need carbs, but you want good carbohydrates, but you also have to monitor them because we do have people who are overeating, and unfortunately, we are overeating our carbs here in Kenya. So you want to monitor the amount of carbohydrates that you're eating, but if you will have your carbs, I always again say, go back to the earth. Eat foods from the earth. Your sweet potatoes are good. Your merengues are good. Your pumpkins are good. Brown rice, is good. Your beans, good legumes.
Yeah.
All kinds of beans, like those are lentils, which by the way are also really good for helping keep your moods stable.
Together and
So
stable.
that's the whole
Beans,
idea.
dengu,
Beans,
that's all
dengus.
good.
Think what our shishos ate, our grandparents. That's what we need to eat. Now, there's this other thing that our grandparents ate, and we need to bring it back in fashion.
Right.
Bone broth. Soup.
Ya kuchemsha.
Ya kuchemsha.
Yes.
Let me tell you.
Right.
That stuff is amazing. When our parents, remember when someone maybe is pregnant, they're told, drink soup.
Yeah.
Drink soup. When someone's not feeling well, give them soup. They knew something about that soup. And science is backing it up 100%. The magnesium, the glucose, there's a lot of minerals that's in the bones that's released when we make that soup.
We could talk all day,
Yes.
Roseanne, because this is a lot of stuff that I feel
Yes.
very passionately about. And as we wrap up, the good foods, the
Yes.
foods that help your mood, we know this is just part one. There'll
Yes.
be so many more that will follow. There'll be
Yes.
so many more conversations that will follow. I can see we've got a spice rack
Yes,
here.
yes.
Because again, when you're changing your diet and your tongue's used to a certain kind of flavor,
Yes.
it becomes hard to say I'm only going to boil and I'm only going to steam.
Right?
And so you brought us some spices
I
that can
did.
help us enjoy
Our
more
foods.
natural foods.
Yes.
And these are spices that are equally good for the mood too.
They are. They absolutely are. We should probably even do a cooking show one day, Sheila,
I
my
think
friend.
we should. I'll
Seriously.
move those a little closer
Yes,
to you.
but basically what we have here, I love something like a turmeric. Turmeric has what's called curcumin. It's a substance in it that's been shown to be a cancer-fighting property. So I love the turmeric, and if you can't do the powder form, the original form is even perfect. It looks like a ginger root. This is good, and now I add this in my smoothies. I add it in my chicken, in my rice. I add it in all stews just because of its cancer-fighting properties. So turmeric is one of those that's really good. And it also gives food that different color. You know how sometimes you make chicken and you're looking for different color?
It's a nice pop of color there.
I like, some different, yeah? So you kind of want to add that in there. Then what we love is something like a black pepper.
Okay.
This is a spice. It speeds up your metabolism once the foods are spicy. I particularly don't care too much for spicy food. My husband, on the other hand, likes it.
He does.
So it's like one of those, how do we balance this out? But I love the black pepper because it gives the food just a different taste. You'll wonder, what's in that food? But it's really this combination of all these flavors in here.
Okay.
Something like a coriander. Again, this is and by the way, these are herbs. I want folks to know these have no added additives in them. These are all herbs. Coriander is like a dhania.
Yeah.
Dhania, coriander. So you can add this into your foods and flavors. And even what I say is when you go to the shop, smell them.
Yep.
Right?
If you can smell it, it's got all its power-packed.
It has all
powers.
its power properties in there, packed in there, something that you can use. That's coriander.
Right.
And then we have like a cumin. This is another one that I love. Cumin is also, again, Indian, but let me tell you, when we add this to our food, it just makes it taste so much better.
Yeah.
And then finally, I love a cocoa, a dark cocoa. We're not talking hot chocolate, and I don't want you to think hot chocolate. I want you to think dark cocoa.
Right.
It has been shown, if you add this, Actually, two benefits to dark cocoa. Not only does it help improve your mood when you take it, but when you're having your PMSs and you're craving, one of the things, and not on all women, because again, all bodies are different. We're very
for
different.
A lot of women.
But for some women, what happens is when you add dark cocoa, take water 3 to 4 days before your period and do that consecutively, it adds some properties in your brain that makes you stay satiated. So you're not feeling the craving is not popping up.
Yeah, because for some women, myself included,
me
the
too,
cravings just...
They're off the roof.
Yeah.
They're off the roof. So that's one of the things that you can do. And there's, I should give you this recipe where you can make nuts with the dates. You add some dark cocoa in there, a little bit of honey, and that's something I recommend, and blend that in a blender.
Wow.
Take that, because what's going to do, it's going to keep your cravings low.
It keeps them low.
Yes.
As we get ready to close, there's oil.
Yes.
Where do we stand with oil? We know the hydrogenated is not good.
Bad.
What do we have here?
So basically, what I usually recommend, you want to use something like an olive oil, again, which comes naturally from the earth. This has gone through very little processing, and or a coconut oil. Now, coconut oil
I
love coconut. It makes everything taste good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It really makes everything taste good. So coconut oil it looks like a lard, and so people might think because it's hard, it might not be as good and or healthy. But it's one of the healthiest. It's a saturated fat, but it's a good fat to have and to add on your diet. So usually I recommend use the coconut oil for sauteing, for frying, but don't overdo it. Don't use too much.
Yeah, kidogo too.
Yeah, just kidogo. Because the minute it cooks or it boils, it does not lose its molecular structure. That's what we call.
Right.
So it stays stable. So it's a stable oil. The other is olive oil. But with olive oil, you really want to be careful, because the minute it goes above a certain degree, I believe it's 175 or 275, I could be wrong on the numbers, the minute it's smoking point, it becomes like any other oil. So olive oil, what we recommend is use it on top of your salads, throw it a little bit on your nuts. It's actually really good for you.
So clearly there is an established connection between mood and food.
For sure.
And this is the beginning of many conversations. We are going to have little snippet conversations where we say, this is your food and this is why it's good for you.
Yes.
Thank you for making the time to be here. I know you're online helping people.
Yes.
And you're available for people to contact you.
Absolutely.
And to start making those changes.
Absolutely.
Your final words to somebody who's been struggling and has finally seen the light.
Yes.
What's the next step to them?
If you've seen the light, this is the next step. Share. Go help somebody else, because I'm not going to be able to reach everybody. But you, in your own little circle, if you've seen the light, it's working for you, please share that knowledge. Don't hold things back. I always believe whatever God's given to you, the minute you release it, the minute you give to other people, a lot more is going to come back to you. Food is a way of bringing us together, isn't it, Sheila?
Yes, it is.
But let's make it healthier. Let's start eating a lot of foods from the earth. Let's not eat all these other foods that we've talked about, and really let's begin to educate. And folks can find me on Treasure Fitness. Facebook page is Treasure Fitness. Instagram, treasure.fitness. All social media handles are at Treasure Fitness. So guys can find me there, reach out more, and follow me to just really get tips and ideas.
I'll tell you, she does a lot. She posts recipes, she's got workout routines, she has conversations with you. It's all happening online.
Absolutely.
It's great to go online for fun and games and to slay. It's even better when you learn something that's going to make you happier, that's going to make you healthier, and it's also going to make your community happier and healthier too. There is a connection between food and mood, so don't play around with what you're putting in your mouth. Be very careful with it. We are going to post Roseanne's social media handles on all our social media handles as well. But for now, we've got to sign out at the Waterfront. Karen, remember, if you're expanding your business or looking for space that's great and all that, look no further than the Waterfront Karen. Until the next episode, live out loud in all that you do. Bye.